Every soul that walks this earth will face moments of pain, confusion, and loss. It is part of the design of human life. Yet, in those moments when everything feels like it's fallen apart, we are tempted to believe that Allah has abandoned us. But the truth is, hardship is not sent to break you. It's sent to wake you. It's a divine alarm clock ringing through the chaos of your comfort, calling you back to what truly matters. Sometimes we drift so far from purpose, drowning in the noise of this world, that only pain has the power to get our attention again. When life feels too easy, we often stop reflecting. We become complacent, numb, or distracted. The heart becomes lazy when it is too comfortable, and faith becomes shallow when it is never tested. Hardship shakes that false sense of control. It reminds you that you are not self-sufficient, that you are in need, that every breath, every blessing, every heartbeat is sustained by Allah's mercy, not your mastery. The breaking of your illusion is the beginning of your awakening. There are moments when Allah removes what you thought you couldn't live without to show you that you were relying on it more than Him. That loss becomes a mirror reflecting where your trust truly lies. It's in those tears, in that silence of surrender, that the heart begins to remember who is really in control. Hardship is not Allah turning away, it's Him turning you back. It's not rejection, it's redirection. When Allah loves a person, He does not always make their path smooth. He makes it meaningful. He uses challenge as a means of purification, stripping away arrogance, ego, and attachment until what remains is sincerity. The same fire that burns also refines gold. The trial you're facing may not be a punishment at all, but a process of becoming, a spiritual refinement that your soul needs to elevate. Sometimes the pain you feel is not a sign that something has gone wrong, but that something sacred is being rebuilt. You may have been holding on to something that was limiting your growth. Allah removes it, not to hurt you, but to free you. What feels like destruction may actually be divine construction. A restructuring of your heart so that it can hold deeper faith, clearer vision, and truer love. Hardship has a way of silencing the noise of the world so you can hear the whisper of the divine. When everything else fails, you are left face to face with the only one who never does. That silence, that solitude, that struggle. It becomes sacred space, a space where your soul learns to breathe again, not through certainty, but through surrender. It's easy to praise Allah when life is easy, but true faith is revealed when everything falls apart and you still whisper, Alhamdulillah. That whisper is not weakness. It's awakening. It's the moment your heart begins to see beyond circumstance and recognize the mercy hidden within the pain. The deeper the cut, the more room there is for light to enter. So when you are brought to your knees, don't see it as failure. It's an invitation. Because sometimes Allah has to bring you low enough to make you look up. And in that upward gaze, when the heart turns toward Him again, you realize that the breaking was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to wake you up to who you are and who He has always been. Not every difficulty that enters your life is meant to test your patience. Some arrive to reveal your choices. We often call every pain a test from Allah. But sometimes what we face is simply the result of our own decisions. Allah, in His mercy, has built the world on cause and effect. Actions have consequences, and the pain that follows disobedience or neglect is not punishment, it's correction. It's a divine feedback system meant to guide you back toward alignment. When your heart aches after chasing what's wrong, it's not random. It's a message from Allah saying, this path leads away from me. The beauty of this realization is that it reintroduces responsibility into faith. Faith is not a shield that excuses us from accountability. You can't plant the seeds of negligence and expect the harvest of peace. Sometimes we hurt because we ignored the signs, silenced our conscience, or followed our desires blindly. And when the result appears, we call it a test. But often it's a lesson. One that Allah allows, so we finally pause, reflect, and realign. The Quran repeatedly reminds us that corruption appears in our lives because of what our own hands have earned. This is not a statement of cruelty, but of compassion. Allah is teaching us that pain can be a teacher if we are humble enough to listen. When you start seeing your suffering as communication instead of condemnation, you stop blaming fate and start transforming yourself. That's the moment true spiritual maturity begins. When you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? But not every consequence means you're doomed. Even when pain is self-inflicted, Allah's mercy is still greater than your mistakes. The very fact that you feel the sting of guilt or regret is proof that your heart is still alive. If Allah wanted to punish you, He wouldn't awaken you. He would leave you lost in your heedlessness. So when your choices bring pain, don't hide from it. Let it humble you. Let it remind you that your way didn't work, and His way always will. Pain that comes from sin has a different texture. It doesn't just hurt the body, it unsettles the soul. It steals your peace, your clarity, your sense of connection. You can distract yourself for a while, but deep down you know something isn't right. That unease is divine mercy in disguise. It's Allah calling you back, whispering through the discomfort, come home. The same pain that exposed your distance can become the path to your return. There's a difference between a test that purifies and a consequence that corrects. A test refines what's already good inside you. A consequence exposes what still needs to change. Both are forms of love, but they operate differently. A test builds resilience, while a consequence builds awareness. Both, however, lead to the same destination. A heart closer to Allah, and a soul that has learned how to listen to divine guidance through every experience. When you start taking accountability for your role in your pain, something beautiful happens. You reclaim your power to change. You stop waiting for life to fix itself, and you start aligning your choices with truth. That's when healing begins, not because the past disappears, but because you've understood its purpose. You no longer see pain as random, but as intentional, purposeful, and redemptive. And that's the mercy within every consequence. It doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to direct you. The pain you feel is not Allah rejecting you, it's Him refining your awareness. Sometimes He allows the sting of your own actions so that you never return to that same mistake again. And in that realization, you find that even your lowest moments were not wasted. They were the doorway through which you finally met His wisdom. Every soul walks through seasons of testing and moments of consequence, but the two are not the same. A test is when Allah allows something difficult to strengthen your heart and deepen your faith, while a consequence is when He allows the effects of your choices to teach you awareness. Both carry pain, but one comes to elevate you, and the other comes to educate you. Understanding the difference between them changes how you respond, because one calls for patience and the other calls for repentance. When Allah tests you, it's never to break you, but to bring out what's hidden within you. Tests are the gym for the soul. They stretch your faith, refine your intentions, and reveal how deeply you trust His decree. When everything is taken from you and you still say, Alhamdulillah, that's a test that purified your heart. It washes away arrogance, self-dependence, and attachment to what doesn't last. Through testing, Allah removes what clouds your connection with Him so you can see clearly again. Consequences, on the other hand, are not meant to destroy you, but to awaken you. They come when you've walked off the path and ignored the warning signs. The pain that follows a wrong decision isn't Allah's anger. It's His mercy dressed in discomfort. It's how He brings your attention back to what you overlooked. A consequence says, this direction isn't working. It's not punishment, it's correction. The discomfort is a guidepost pointing you back to alignment. Both tests and consequences reveal the heart's condition. A test exposes your level of surrender, how you respond when life doesn't go your way. A consequence exposes your level of self-awareness, how honest you are about your own part in your pain. Together, they create a balance. One purifies your soul from what was never yours to control, and the other corrects your path when your own actions led you astray. The wise believer learns to discern between them. When something painful happens, you pause and ask, is this meant to grow me or to guide me back? That reflection itself becomes a form of worship. It's not about blame, it's about alignment. Because Allah does not send confusion, He sends clarity. And sometimes clarity comes wrapped in the discomfort of seeing yourself honestly for the first time. Tests demand patience, a quiet endurance rooted in trust that Allah knows what you do not. Consequences demand humility, the courage to admit when your own choices led you off course. Patience without humility becomes denial, and humility without patience becomes despair. But when both exist together, you move from spiritual blindness to spiritual maturity. You begin to see that both the purification and the correction were acts of divine mercy. Through tests, your character is shaped. Through consequences, your wisdom is sharpened. Both are necessary for transformation. You cannot grow strong without resistance, and you cannot walk straight without redirection. Allah uses both the storm and the stillness to teach you something about yourself and something about Him. What felt like contradiction was always coordination. Every hardship precisely designed to grow what needed to grow within you. So when life presses you, ask not only, why is this happening, but what is this shaping in me? Because whether you are being purified through testing or corrected through consequence, both are signs that Allah has not abandoned you. He is still involved, still guiding, still invested in your becoming. Both paths, though painful, lead you closer to the one who wrote them. When you draw closer to Allah, life does not suddenly become easier. It becomes more meaningful. Many people assume that closeness to Allah means freedom from pain, but in reality, it often invites a deeper kind of hardship. The reason is simple. Allah strengthens those He loves. Just as a teacher gives more challenging lessons to a student ready for growth, Allah allows greater tests for a heart that is ready to rise. These hardships are not meant to harm you, but to prepare you for what you've prayed for, to purify what's within so your soul can carry the blessings ahead. Closeness to Allah refines your sensitivity to the unseen. When your faith deepens, your awareness of the spiritual battle around you heightens. You start noticing how attachments, temptations, and ego still pull at your hearts. So Allah in His mercy sends hardship, not as punishment, but as a purifier. The pain you face begins to cleanse your perception. It washes away false confidence, pride, and distraction until what remains is humility, surrender, and clarity. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to see how much you still depend on Him and how little you ever needed the world. Hardship for the believer is not a sign of distance. It's a sign of preparation. The closer you get to your purpose, the more resistance you will face. Just like a seed must break before it grows, the soul must go through pressure before it blooms. Allah does not test you to expose your weakness. He tests you to reveal your strength. And that strength is not your own. It's His strength manifesting through your faith when you are close to Him. He builds you in ways that only hardship can. The Prophet faced the greatest hardships, not because he was far from Allah, but because he was nearest to Him. Every insult, loss, and rejection was a layer of purification, removing anything that could tie his heart to the world. Through each trial, he became more resilient, more compassionate, and more unshakable in faith. That same divine pattern continues with anyone who seeks closeness to Allah. The road to intimacy is paved with trials meant to strengthen, not break. When your heart belongs to Allah, He won't let it stay attached to anything that competes with Him. So He allows the temporary to shake, the people to change, and the plans to fall apart. Not out of cruelty, but to anchor you in something permanent. Each hardship becomes a quiet act of divine jealousy, pulling your heart away from illusion and back toward its true source of peace. The closer you get to Allah, the less the world can hold on to you. What feels like loss is often protection. What feels like delay is often development. Allah's way of strengthening you is not through ease, but through endurance. Ease may keep you comfortable, but struggle keeps you conscious. When He loves you, He teaches you how to rely on Him completely, stripping away every false dependency until you find peace only in His remembrance. That kind of strength cannot be built in comfort. It's forged in surrender. If you are walking through hardship while striving to stay close to Allah, know that your struggle is sacred. It means your soul is being conditioned for higher trust. It means you are being trained to respond to pain with patience, fear with faith, and uncertainty with surrender. Allah is not pushing you away. He is pulling you deeper. Every tear, every night of questioning, every whispered dua is being woven into your transformation. And as you continue to hold on to him through the storm, you begin to see that what once felt like breaking was actually building. The difficulty didn't come to destroy your faith. It came to define it. The more Allah loves you, the more he invests in your growth. And sometimes that investment looks like pain. But through that pain, he molds your heart into something stronger, softer, and entirely his. When a believer begins to drift away from Allah, life often starts to feel heavy, confusing, and unsettled. This is not always a punishment. It's mercy in disguise. When you wander too far from your purpose, Allah allows discomfort to awaken your heart. The pain becomes a divine signal that something within you is out of alignment. It's as though Allah is whispering, come back. Every hardship in that sense becomes a compass, not pointing to despair, but to direction. It's his way of rerouting you when you've lost sight of your spiritual map. Sometimes when life is easy, we forget who sustains us. Comfort can make us careless. We start depending on people, money, or status, and our prayers lose their sincerity. So Allah, out of love, shakes the foundation of what we rely on. He removes the false sources of security so that we remember the only source that never changes. The struggle that follows isn't random. It's a sacred wake-up call, a realignment of your heart to what truly anchors it. Hardship becomes the turning point that pride could never achieve. There are moments when Allah withholds peace to remind you where peace truly comes from. You may chase happiness in relationships, achievements, or material gain, but nothing feels right anymore. That inner restlessness is a mercy. It's not Allah abandoning you. It's him gently pulling you away from what would destroy you. He allows temporary discomfort to prevent permanent distance. The ache you feel is not the absence of God. It's the evidence of his presence calling you home. When you drift, the signs start small, prayers delayed, gratitude forgotten, sins minimized. Allah could leave you there, but he doesn't. Out of love, he allows hardship to intersect your path. The loss, the failure, the unexpected turn, all become mirrors reflecting where your heart has wandered. In those reflections, you find not condemnation, but invitation. Allah does not expose you to shame you. He exposes you to save you. Hardship, then, becomes one of the most intimate ways Allah communicates. He speaks through silence, through delay, through detours. Every closed door becomes a reminder that you are being redirected, not rejected. When the path you wanted collapses, it's often because Allah saw what you couldn't, that continuing down that road would cost you your connection with him. The redirection hurts, but it saves. The pain of redirection teaches humility. It strips you of arrogance and independence, showing you how fragile control truly is. You realize that without Allah, even the smallest step feels uncertain. That awareness is not weakness, it's wisdom, because the moment you acknowledge your need for him again, the doors that were once shut begin to open, not necessarily outwardly, but within. Peace starts to return, not because the circumstances changed, but because your heart did. When you finally turn back to Allah after drifting, you'll notice something remarkable. He was never far. The distance you felt was never from his side. It was from yours. He was watching, waiting, guiding, even in your disobedience. The hardship that seemed harsh was actually his compassion, ensuring you didn't lose yourself completely. His love is not proven by how easy your life is, but by how persistently he calls you back when you forget him. And so, when life brings pain after a period of distance, don't see it as rejection. See it as redirection. Every hardship is a sign that your soul is too precious to be left wandering. The storm came not to drown you, but to turn your ship around. Through the wind and the waves, Allah steers you once again toward the shore of his mercy, where peace waits patiently for your return. When hardship enters your life, your first reaction often determines your level of spiritual awareness. Some immediately ask, why me? While others pause and ask, what is Allah showing me? That pause, that moment of reflection is sacred. It's where wisdom begins. Reflection allows you to step back from emotion and look deeper into the purpose behind the pain. Every difficulty carries a message, but only a reflective heart can hear it. When you stop reacting and start reflecting, hardship stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like guidance. Allah doesn't send trials without reason. Sometimes they come to elevate you, sometimes to correct you, and sometimes to awaken you. But if you never take the time to reflect, you'll miss which one it is. Reflection reveals whether the hardship is a test meant to strengthen your faith or a consequence meant to realign your choices. Without reflection, you might keep repeating the same mistake, thinking it's fate, but with reflection, you begin to see patterns, how your actions, intentions, and priorities shape the outcomes of your life. Reflection is not self-blame, it's self-awareness. It's the courage to ask uncomfortable questions about your relationship with Allah. Have you been consistent in your prayers? Have you been neglecting your obligations? Have you been relying too much on yourself or others? These questions are not meant to condemn you, but to clarify your condition. The purpose of reflection is not guilt, it's growth. Because you can't heal what you refuse to see. A reflective heart views pain differently. It doesn't rush to label hardship as bad. It looks for what it's building. It recognizes that Allah is both just and merciful, meaning nothing that happens is meaningless. Every setback has a reason. Every delay has wisdom. Every disappointment hides direction. Through reflection, you begin to trust that even what hurts is somehow working for your good, even if it doesn't feel that way now. The Quran repeatedly calls believers to think, ponder, and reflect. It's a divine reminder that the difference between spiritual stagnation and spiritual maturity lies in awareness. The same event that breaks one person can build another. Not because the event was different, but because the reflection was. The reflective person looks at a hardship and asks, what is Allah teaching me here? That mindset transforms suffering into sacred education. When you reflect, your heart starts to see beyond the surface. You realize that some hardships aren't external, they're internal. The conflict you face outside is often a mirror of what's unsettled within. Maybe the chaos in your life reflects the chaos in your priorities. Maybe the silence you feel from Allah mirrors the silence of your own remembrance. Reflection doesn't just point to what happened. It reveals who you're becoming. The one who reflects begins to see hardship as a mirror rather than a wall. Instead of blocking your progress, it shows you what needs to be changed before you move forward. Sometimes Allah delays your breakthrough because He wants you to notice something within yourself first. Maybe it's arrogance, ingratitude, or attachment. And through reflection, you see it clearly. Once you realign your heart, the path ahead becomes clearer too. Through reflection, pain becomes purposeful. You stop fighting your hardships and start learning from them. You begin to see that life is not happening to you, but for you, designed by Allah to shape your soul, refine your character, and bring you closer to Him. Reflection reveals that hardship is not just about what's happening outside of you, but what Allah is awakening inside of you. When life brings difficulty, our instinct is to label it as bad. But in truth, every challenge carries a hidden mercy. Whether it's a test meant to elevate you or a consequence meant to correct you, both are rooted in divine compassion. Allah never allows pain without purpose. Tests come to strengthen your faith and consequences come to refine your awareness. Each one, though it may sting in the moment, is a manifestation of Allah's mercy because He loves you too much to let you remain unchanged. When Allah tests you, it's not to break you, but to build you. Tests stretch the soul, expand your patience, and deepen your trust. They expose where your faith stands and where it still needs work. Through every delay, loss, or hardship, Allah purifies your heart from arrogance and attachment. You emerge from the test lighter, wiser, and closer to Him. The mercy in testing is that it reminds you who sustains you. That no matter what falls apart, your connection with Allah is the only thing that can't be shaken. Consequences, though harder to face, are also acts of mercy. They come when we've taken a wrong turn, and Allah wants to bring us back. Instead of leaving us lost, He allows the discomfort of our own choices to teach us what obedience could have prevented. That pain is not punishment. It's protection. It's Allah saying, you've strayed too far. Let me guide you back before the path gets darker. To feel regret is not a curse, but a gift, for it signals a heart that's still alive and capable of return. In both cases, mercy is the thread that runs through the experience. Whether you're being tested for growth or corrected for guidance, Allah is actively engaging with your soul. The worst state is not hardship, it's heedlessness. To feel nothing, to be distant from Allah and unaware is far more dangerous than to feel pain. Pain at least means He's still calling you. Hardship, in that sense, becomes a sacred form of divine communication, a reminder that your story is still in His care. There's a subtle wisdom in how Allah uses both testing and consequence. A test humbles you before blessings. A consequence humbles you after mistakes. Both lead to humility, and humility leads to connection. It's through humility that the heart becomes soft again, able to receive guidance and light. Without humility, ease can harden you, and success can blind you. But through struggle, you rediscover dependence, and dependence draws you closer to the one who never disappoints. When you begin to see mercy in both kinds of hardship, your relationship with pain changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is Allah teaching me through this? That question shifts you from despair to discovery. It turns suffering into a teacher and discomfort into direction. Life becomes less about escaping pain and more about uncovering purpose within it. You realize that every heartbreak, every loss, and every closed door was an invitation to return to what's real. The Prophet endured immense trials, yet he never viewed them as abandonment. He saw them as refinement. Every test drew him closer to Allah. That same pattern continues for every believer. The fact that Allah is testing you or correcting you means He still sees potential in you. He hasn't turned away. His mercy is not only in what He gives, but in what He takes away, in what He allows to wound you so that it may wake you. And so when life feels heavy and your heart questions why, remember this, whether it's a test or a consequence, it's mercy wearing a different face. Both are meant to strip away illusions, soften your heart, and bring you home to Allah. You may not see it now, but someday you'll look back and realize that even the pain was love, a love deep enough to disrupt your comfort so your soul could find its way back to peace. When hardship strikes, our first instinct is often to ask, why me? It's a natural question, one born from confusion, exhaustion, and pain. But that question keeps us stuck in the past, trapped in a cycle of self-pity and resistance. It focuses on the injustice of what happened rather than the opportunity that lies within it. The real transformation begins when we shift the question from why me to what now? Because the moment you stop asking for an explanation and start seeking direction, you open the door for growth, wisdom, and divine guidance. Asking what now is not about denying your pain. It's about moving through it with purpose. It's an act of faith, a declaration that even though you don't understand the reason, you trust that there is one. What now? Turns suffering into a seed for progress. It tells Allah, I may not control what happened, but I choose how to respond. That shift in mindset is what separates those who are broken by hardship from those who are built by it. The test is not in what you face, but in how you face it. Why me? Looks for blame, but what now? Looks for meaning. One isolates you, the other elevates you. When you ask why me, you center the story around yourself. But when you ask what now, you recenter it around Allah, around His wisdom, His mercy, and His plan. You begin to see the hardship not as random chaos, but as a chapter in your divine training. Every struggle becomes a classroom, every setback a lesson, every pain a push toward a higher purpose. The prophets never asked, why me? Though they had every reason to, they faced exile, betrayal, loss, and unimaginable difficulty. Yet their response was always, what now, O Allah? What do you want me to do next? That surrender was their strength. It didn't mean they didn't feel pain. It meant they trusted that pain to guide them to something greater. That's the essence of true faith. To move forward, even when the path is covered in uncertainty, believing that every step still leads closer to Him. When you ask what now, you become an active participant in your own healing. You begin to look for solutions instead of sympathy. You start seeking Allah's guidance through prayer, reflection, and patience. You turn the trial into transformation by choosing to learn from it. Maybe the hardship is calling you to change something, to let go of an attachment, to realign your priorities, or to strengthen your character. What now empowers you to take ownership of your spiritual journey. Sometimes the answer to what now is simply stillness. It's not always about immediate action, but about inner recalibration. Maybe Allah wants you to pause, to sit with your heart, and to remember Him more deeply. Other times, what now leads you to serve others, to use your pain as a source of empathy and strength. Either way, it keeps you moving toward growth rather than circling around despair. The question becomes your compass, guiding you back to purpose no matter how lost you feel. This shift also changes how you see time. Why me? Traps you in what was, what now, anchors you in what can be. It teaches you to live in the present moment, the only place where healing truly happens. You stop waiting for life to return to normal and start building a new normal from where you stand. That is how faith matures, not by escaping hardship, but by walking through it with a renewed sense of trust and direction. Hardship will always visit every soul, but not every soul will respond the same way. The ones who rise are not those who avoid pain, but those who learn to transform it. Every time you say, "What now?" you reclaim your power from the trial itself. You tell the story of your struggle differently, not as something that happened to you, but as something that happened for you. And in that moment, hardship stops being the enemy and becomes the very tool that leads you back to who you were meant to become.